Hello dear viewers, in this part of the Rick Dom's assembly process, I'm going to be putting together its arms and hands and shoulders. We'll begin by putting on the outer armor for its shoulder, which consists these two black outer pieces which has been clear coated, and it goes over a red piece which I painted earlier in red and panelline in black. So if I'm not mistaken, this is for the right shoulder, and it has a small sticker decal with some wordings on it. Now this is the left shoulder, which has a bigger sticker decal, which is a form of, I presume it's a rank for the Rick Dom. I'm not too sure about the law on this, but I presume it's a rank insignia. So these two black cover pieces will go over the red painted piece underneath. There's still a slight gap after the two black pieces has come together, but in most poses that small gap is barely noticeable. So that is the left outer shoulder piece. Just making sure it's tight. The fitting is tight. So now let's move on to the right elbow and lower arm. The inner frame for the elbow, I have painted it in a metallic color. I think I've used metallic iron plus some black to give it a darker shade. So that metallic piece is enclosed in these two violet outer armor. But first, there's that connector piece in between that has to be placed first before the two outer armor that is violet in color can be pushed in together for a good tight fit. So this violet color, if I recall correctly, I have used Gaia lavender paint, Gaia Notes lavender lacquer paint, and mix it with some certain amount of black to get it to be a bit darker in shade. So that's the other parts of the outer armor for the lower arm and elbow. There's a small sticker decal to the side, the ones with some wordings on it. Now I'm working on the right hand. The grey part, the fingers have just been top coated with a clear flat coat, while the outer armor on the back of the hand, that lavender piece or violet piece has been painted. Now let's move on by connecting the inner part of the shoulder, which I'm holding on my left hand here. First, just let me remove the masking tape that I used so that the paint did not affect the rubber polycap inside. So that round piece, which is the inner part of the shoulder, slots into the upper arm like so, and then everything, this whole sub-assembly should fix onto the lower arm via a small joint here. Just making sure I got the orientation right so that the pieces will fit together nicely. It doesn't seem to be going in, doesn't seem to be the correct fit. Anyway, I guess I'll have to do this off camera, and I'll get back to you guys in a bit.
Moments later.
And so we are back to the Rick Dom's arm assembly, and as you can see here, I've managed to fit the upper half of the arm to the lower half off camera. So it was quite difficult to get the orientation right for some reason. So I had to do it off camera, or the video will get too lengthy. So now that's the top part of the shoulder in as well. Now let's just place the connector piece or the additional piece, armor piece, prior to putting on the hands. With that done, wait, just let me check I think I had on the wrong shoulder. This shoulder is for the shoulder that I have put on just now is the one for the right shoulder. I had on the wrong inner portion of the shoulder. So this is the one for the right shoulder. Nope, I've got the orientation wrong. Just let me switch it the other way. Just have a look at the manual. Doing it on camera sometimes can make things seem more difficult than it really is, due to the angle that I have to place the camera in and the angle that I have to work from. So sometimes it helps to just have a check back to the manual and have a look at the orientation on how I should put this together. So let's give this another try. And yes, I think it goes in that way. It looks right for now. So anyway, let's move on to the left hand, arm and shoulder. Let's start with the upper half first. Making sure that I have the inner joint orientated properly. Oh, it looks like I have placed it wrongly, so let me just readjust the polycaps, because I guess that was what was the problem that caused me to have an issue with putting the upper half of the arm to the lower half earlier, and necessitating me to do the assembly off camera. So now that I figured out the problem, I can tackle it on camera now and show you what the problem was which was I had put on the poly cap inside the upper half of the arm in the wrong orientation. Sometimes it pays to give full focus to the instructions, because there is always a reason why they want you to put it in the orientation that they state in the manual. Let me just put the upper half back together first. So now it should be easier to connect the upper half of the arm to the lower half, which I'm putting together now. As with the right arm, this is the inner elbow joint, which I painted in a dark metallic color. Thankfully, painting the parts did not make the fitting too tight, and the parts seem to be able to go together without any problems despite a layer of paint on them. This is not always the case, but thankfully it is for the Rick Dom arms that you see here. Oh no, I've forgotten to put on the poly cap that connects the two halves together. So now I got to split it open again. The poly cap that I'm picking up with my right hand here, it's supposed to go in between these two dark violet or lavender pieces. That will allow the two pieces to fit together in a more secure and tight manner. That poly cap also eventually will allow the hand to connect to the lower half of the arm more securely. Just getting it's slightly off center, not in 100% alignment. That's why I'm having a difficulty pushing the parts together. So I just have to realign the two outer halves so that they can come together like this. So this is the elbow joint finished. So now I'm putting on the two other outer armors for the outer joint, or the elbow joint, sorry. That sticker decal you see on it has some wordings. They are barely legible. So now this is the upper half to the lower half of the arm that I had problems with earlier. But as you can see, with the proper orientation of the poly cap that was inside the upper half of the arm, now that I can put this together easier, or at least I should be able to put it together in easier and on camera. Just let me readjust the orientation of the poly cap. Now let's have a go again. And well, there, it's fixed together as tightly as I can without breaking that joint. There. So I managed to do it on camera for the left arm, which I had to do off camera for the right arm. So now the armor piece for the wrist goes in over the poly cap that connected the two halves, Now this is the inner part of the shoulder. Just orientating it in the right position. Now let's fix the hands. The hands, by the way, all individual fingers have full articulation and can be moved individually and separately, independently of one another. So let's put the hand onto the wrist joint. Okay. Now it goes through. No, I have it wrong. Yes, that's the correct way to place the arm over the outer shoulder armor. They seem loose now, but they should be fit more snugly when I push it in further, like so. So there you have it. These are the arms for the Master Grade Rick Dom, fully assembled. Articulation is good for an old kid like this. So with the assembly done, let's move on to the next part. So here we are now with the assembly of the Rick Dom's legs. So this complicated series of sub-assembly and parts you see on the work table here are the pieces that are required to put together the legs. I'll begin with the back of the knee, which I painted in a metallic color, because after all the outer armor is placed, it will be visible. Meanwhile, the piece that I'm putting on top of the knee, as you can see, is still in its pure plastic state. It has not been painted, because once I put on the outer armor, as you'll see later, it will be completely covered up, hence will be completely hidden from view. That was the reason I did not paint the piece that I'm assembling onto the back portion of the knee now. So now I'm putting together the front of the knee, which has a violet armor piece as well as a black armor piece that covers the grey part underneath it. Now that grey part, I had forgotten that it will be visible if the knee is bent at a strong angle. So I had forgotten to paint it in the dark metallic colors that you see for the back of the knee. But if it is standing, then it will be hidden from view. It's just that when the knee is bent, that it might be exposed. Now, this is what I mean by not painting the inner part of the thigh area, because as you can see now, as I place the outer pieces of armor onto that thigh area, it will be completely covered up, and as such it will be completely hidden from view. So there's actually no reason to paint it unless you are a completist or would like to showcase your Rick Dom purely by looking at its inner frame. You wouldn't want to paint this piece. And then just let me get the orientation right so that the pieces fit together correctly, as so. So this is the outer armor placed onto the thigh section. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier, it completely covers up the inner part of the thigh, hence I did not paint it at all. Whereas the back of the knee, which is a metallic grey part, is showing, so that's why I painted that one. Just let me push the outer armor pieces so that they fit. The gap is not so wide. Just making sure I get the orientation correct. There are times if you push the parts together at a slightly off angle, you will find that the gaps show and they do not completely close up to each other. So I have to just remove it slightly, pry it apart slightly, and then bring it back together. And you can see, as you can see now, the gaps are much closer, at least on the other side. Yes, so but the gaps on this side seems to be showing a bit, but I'll tackle that later. But I guess they don't look as bad from this angle, so I'll leave it be for now. So this thigh area and the back of the knee and the front of the knee done. So I'll put the front of the knee onto the back of the knee. So with that done, the upper half of the leg is complete. So I shall move on now to the lower half of the leg. This is it's actually close to the ankle section, but I guess you can still consider it's part of the lower half of the leg. This, I'm just placing a polycap in between the pieces so that they will eventually connect together in a good tight fit. Now these parts that I painted in a metallic color, it is because that the way the thing all comes together, they will be visible at certain angles. Hence, I decided to paint up the parts which you see in the metal color now, so that when it is viewed as a whole, it will look more pleasing to the eye, so to speak. You understand what I mean when the whole thing comes together. I'm still now working on the inner frame of the lower half of the leg. The lower half of the leg combines together over the knee area, and in a way, I guess this makes the joint that little bit stronger, allowing for a nice articulation of the leg at the knee. Like so. Now let's put on the rocket veneers or rocket boosters onto the lower half of the leg. So now let's move on to the front ankle guard. This piece of so-called ankle guard, I have painted it red with some metallic bits showing through. Now I'm just following the color scheme that is recommended in the manual. So moving on, there's these round armor pieces which attach at the knee area, side of the knee. The fitting seems loose, doesn't snap into the peg or joints, and I have a feeling it will come loose when I pose the Rick Dom or as I proceed with the assembly process. Yeah, it feels very loose, so I guess time will tell. So anyway, those are the side round armor pieces on. So now let's move on to let's put on the foot first. First, let me remove that label. So now I'm attaching the sole of the foot, which I painted in a metallic titanium color, together with some gold. This fits onto a black armor piece, and as I mentioned many times, the black armor pieces are all just clear coated, not painted. Now that's done, we move on to the lavender or violet colored armor piece, which goes on top of that black section. And this followed by another black armor piece at the front of the foot. This section has a small sticker decal with barely legible wordings, but it does break up the monotony of the black pieces. So with that done, I'm moving on to the ankle, which you see here has been painted in a metallic color, and reason being, it does show even when after all the parts have been placed together. At least that is what I can gather from the fully assembled pictures that I see from the manual. Now let's continue on with the rest of the leg. First, I'm going to insert a poly cap onto the outer armor of the lower half of the leg, which is actually shaped like a bell-bottom jeans. So the poly cap goes on here. So that's on one side of the lower half of the leg. Followed by this small piece that fits onto the bottom of the knee. And the lower half is completed by the other half of the armor. And as I mentioned earlier, the overall shape reminds me of a bell-bottom jeans. Just making sure the pieces fit on tightly. As I suspected, the round armor piece has come loose. Just trying to make the pieces come together. Doesn't seem to want to come together in a nice fit. There, I think I've got it. Yes. So that's the bell bottom part of the legs on the lower half. Let me put that round armor piece back on first. Wait, I think I have the ankle guard the wrong way round. Oh no. I think I have disassembled everything again. Yeah, it looks like I have to disassemble everything again because I have put the ankle guard the wrong way around. Now this really sucks. But anyway, I hope I do not scratch the paint as I pull this apart. There. I think it's on the right way now. Now things look much more correct, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I had the ankle guard the wrong way around, or rather the inner part of the lower half of the leg. So now let's put on the foot. As you can see from the bottom view, the rocket veneers and thrusters can be seen, are visible, hence that's why they've been painted in a metallic color, combination of gold and titanium. And as you can see, the parts of the ankle can be seen through the holes, the gaps on that bell-bottom armor section. The back of the knee, part of it is covered by this shield-shaped armor piece, but the center parts of the back of the knee can be clearly seen. So let me put on the loose round armor pieces. I'm guessing I will have to eventually put some blue tack inside the pack in order for the parts to stick on better. For now, I'll just leave it be. So that's the right leg of the Rick Dom in a full bend at the knee. As you can see, the lower half of the knee, that grey portion showing, that is the part that I've missed out in painting in a metallic color because I initially thought it wouldn't be showing. But actually it doesn't show if the Rick Dom is standing upright, but it will show if the leg is bent at an angle. Now this is the other half, the other leg, the left leg with the side armor not yet attached, so that you can see the insides of the leg. You get a better view of the insides of the leg. So that's the assembly of Rick Dom's legs complete. So the various sub-assemblies of Rick Dom is now complete, and we can move on to the final assembly process.